Hello everybody and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from Sierra T Designs and today I have week 5 of my 12 weeks of Christmas series. So let's jump right in. So as always, I do like to cut my cardstock down and I am going to be making a 5x7 trifold card. And let me tell you guys, it was a bit difficult to come together, and I'll walk you through some of the mistakes I made and how I fixed them, but I like how it turned out, although by the end of this card, I didn't even want to look at it anymore. So I do have a full piece of cardstock here, and I did cut it down to 7 by 10, and then I'm going to score at the 5 mark to make my 5x7 card. I am making a trifold, and this is the first time I've ever made a trifold like this, so it's not surprising I had some mistakes, but bear with me as we try to go through this and work through these mistakes. So I'm going to show you here how I made the see-through pocket that's kind of like snow. It's just a laminate pocket, and then I have just an Amazon Basics, like a cheap laminator there. And then I just add whatever glitter you want to add. So in this case, I added some, I think they're Pretty Pink Posh mini stars and some confetti from Simon Says Stamp. And I spilt the confetti all over the desk. You're gonna see it kind of happen here, right? Right there. I dropped it. Yep. So I spent time cleaning that up, and then now we're gonna make the pocket. So you're just gonna put it through the laminator. The white sheet is actually on the bottom. It is not inside the pocket, because if it's inside the pocket, you wouldn't be able to see through the panel. So it's just there to add stability to the pocket as the pocket moves through the laminator. Make sure you don't put it in the pocket, or you won't be able to see through it, and it will take away from the whole purpose of this kind of idea. But so I'm just showing you there. So you're going to see tons and tons of glitter at the bottom. That's just because that's where the container of glitter fell, and we're going to kind of save that for something else, because of course it would have created an issue trying to see through the card. And this is actually the second pocket I made. You're going to see a different pocket float around throughout this video. It was my first pocket. It didn't work out well, so I had to make a second one. See, this is the different pocket. So I showed you the pocket we're actually going to use in the card, but I had to make that at the end because I made a big mistake on this pocket and had to toss it. It wasn't salvageable by that point. So, and it was while I was trying to figure out how to add the snowman to the card design. So I'll tell you about that here in a little bit, but you're going to see me use this pocket until we actually glue down the pocket, and then it will actually be the one I just showed you making. So I cut the pocket down to 5x7 because it is going to be the front of the trifold card. And then here, this is just the scrap left over from cutting my base, and that's going to create a hinge to attach the clear panel pocket, whatever you want to call it, to the actual card base. So it's about an inch, but I'm going to trim it down because it's too wide, and then it ends up covering kind of some of my image. But I am going to score it in the center of that, and then that's going to be how I'm going to adhere it to kind of create that trifold effect. Now, interactive cards are always a little intimidating to me. I don't make them very often, and I think that's why I end up struggling so much with them. But if you guys want to make this card, if I ever make it again, hopefully you can skip some of the mistakes that I made in this. So first of all, don't drop your glitter, because, that's a mess and a half. Oh, I have glitter everywhere. It's just going to be, funny. But yeah, so I'm going to attach the hinge kind of to the back or the inside of my base. So it's going to be the clear layer, then the blended layer, then the inside of the card. And you'll see it come together as we kind of go along here. But so I'm going to adhere. Oh, I adhered my little piece to the panel there on the side that I showed you. I just used some liquid glue and it held it down and adhered it that way. And then I'm going to blend on. Now this is the inside, or the second of the trifold. And I have 3 colors here. I have Wilted Violet, Shaded Lilac, and Mermaid Lagoon, and that's going to create my background. And I also took the moon mask that came with the Stamptember 2021 Tim Holtz collab. That's the stamps that I'm using in this video. But the moon mask, you could use any out of the package. This just happens to be the one that came with that set, which is a slightly different size. But any of the moon masks that come out of the actual moon mask set could be used for this idea. And I'm going to blend them onto the background and create a background that I enjoy. I love bold, vibrant colors. This is just kind of my preference. You could, of course, have created this out of blues, or you could have gone darker, because I end up, in the end, white heat embossing my images in the background. At this point, I wasn't totally sure what I wanted to do with my trees and my clouds. So I was kind of trying for a lighter background for this, and I like these colors for Christmas. I just think they're really pretty. They're not really traditional Christmas colors, but purple is my favorite color, so I have a tendency towards them. But I mean, any color combo for this would have looked stunning. And then I just blend them back and forth until I'm happy with the blend of color. And then here I'm going to remove the moon mask, and I used Pixie Spray on the back of this, and it's going to rip my cardstock. So I just took a little glue. I adhered that little piece back down because I'm not starting over at this point. And then I'm going to use the second stencil. So the first one's the moon mask. This one is a stencil. So I'm going to adhere the stencil down. And once again, I did use Pixie Spray on the back of this, but I tapped it on my hand to get some of the stick off before I set it down because I don't want to re-rip my cardstock like I just did. Now, really, the rip just is going to add some texture, so it's not a big deal. Honestly, I don't even think you can tell, but it did happen, so I'm just telling you guys how I fixed it. So I brought in some antique linen, and that's what I blended onto the moon there. So here I'm just double checking that my embossing powder is going to slide off and not stick into the Distress Oxide ink. I assumed at this point it was dry, but it's always good to double check. And then I do have my huge 12 by 12 Misti. My husband actually got this for me for Christmas last year. And I don't use it super often because it doesn't fit on the desk well. But if I want to stamp off of a large card like a 5x7 or a slimline card, this is the best way to go. So I do use it. It's just not as often when I'm making smaller cards. But so I am going to take the moon stamp out of the stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it 5 times. I'm only going to show you 3 here. I originally thought I was going to do 3, but in the end I liked 5 more. So because it's a 5x7 card, there's such an amount of real estate there that I ended up doing 5 stampings of the moon, and they're all kind of clustered together at the top, or by the cloud, not the moon. I ended up stamping 5 of them, all kind of clustered around the moon at the top of the card there in the Mermaid Lagoon color. And they are all going to be white heat embossed. So I did bring in, I believe this is Ranger's Fine Detail. Because that cloud is so finely detailed, I didn't want to miss any of the detail in it. So I brought in I think it's like an ultra fine detail embossing powder. And I just heat set the clouds there. And then after that, I brought in the trees. And this is the one where it took me a minute to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with them. So I did kind of stumble a little bit here, to be honest. Sorry, my editing apparently wasn't real great on this. Oh, that's why. I was looking for my microfiber cloth to wipe off the anti-static powder tool, which I did use on both the top and the bottom for this. So I'm going to stamp down the trees, and I am going to do them in white heat embossing as well. Originally, I thought I would stamp them in maybe a black and then add texture paste to bring the snow back in. But in the end, I just decided that white heat embossing on this background looked really pretty. So that is the direction I decided to go. But there are so many ways you could use this stamp set if you were lucky enough to get it. It was a Stamptember exclusive by Tim Holtz. I mean, it was in stock for almost all the day, I believe. So hopefully you got your hands on it if you wanted it. If not, I'm sure that there are other stamp sets. I'll see what I can find that might be not the same, but maybe fairly similar. I always try to link something that could be an alternative to what I've used if it's not something you can get at this point. I believe Tim Holtz said that sometimes they show up on eBay. So, I mean, that may be an option. If you didn't get it and you really want to get it, you could check eBay and see if maybe someone's selling it. Hopefully they're not trying to gouge the prices, but definitely an option if you want the stamp set and didn't get it. And then, so now we've skipped quite a few hours later. This is after I tried tons of things for the like for Santa Claus and the reindeer. And in the end, I decided just to stamp it in black on the background. Now, this is after I tried many different things. I'm not going to show them to you because honestly, none of them worked. And this video is already almost, 13 minutes long. So they didn't work, sadly. I wanted to put Santa Claus on top of the clear panel, but nothing I tried really worked with that plastic. And I didn't want to fussy cut it out and then have like a white border so in the end, I just opted to stamp it on the background. And I think it still turned out really pretty. It just wasn't the idea I had in my mind at the time. And then here we just have to add some snow. So I put some Perfect Pearls and flicked that onto the background that I just have mixed up in a mini mister bottle. And then I've been using the fan brush. I saw this on Amy R. Prairie Purr in ink, and it's a really great way to add some like snowflakes to your background. So here I am going to adhere down to the panel I actually showed you making, not the one that you saw me playing with, because I decided to try to heat emboss on the other panel, and I warped the bejesus out of it, and then it just wasn't usable. So this is after I'd made the second panel, and you can see it's 4 a.m. 4:41 a.m. on the 27th of October when I actually finally got this card to kind of work. And I did put my Misti on top of it just to keep that from lifting. And then I brought the shaded lilac and a sentiment from that same stamp set because I thought it was really pretty, and I thought this purple would look quite pretty. Shaded lilac, I think, is a very underrated color. It's shocking to me how much I look at some of my colors and I never use them, and then I use them and I'm like, why haven't I not used this color? Like, it's stunning. And then to clean up the edges of this a little bit, I did cut out some strips of, this is like a white pearlescent cardstock that Tonic makes, and it's just to hide the seams mostly. I'm just trying to kind of clean it up and hide a bit of all the layers that are like being adhered together. So like this piece of plastic here, the hinge, I'm kind of just adding kind of like a texture detail to just kind of hide the making of the trifold card. So I'd love to know what you guys think of this card. What do you think of how it came together? Do you think it would have looked better if I could have figured out a way to put Santa Claus on the window? Or do you think that it turned out really pretty the way I ended up doing it? I'm going to have to try my hand at a few different design ideas with the stamp set because I'm in love with it. And it's a beautiful stamp set. Like, I'm so excited by it. But I'm going to have to see what else I can come up with it. But I have so many ideas, and I only do 12 weeks of Christmas. So it's always kind of hard to kind of figure out what I'm doing. So there I trimmed off the excess of the strips that were hanging off, and now I'm going to show you a closer look at how this card came together. So, I mean, I don't think that the camera necessarily does this window justice because you don't get all the glitter that's there, but it is a beautiful card. I think it came together really pretty. It just, the steps, oof. And then the glitter I spilled everywhere is just yikes. But yeah, so that is the card that I made for you guys this week. I'd love to know what you think. I'd love if you'd consider subscribing, leave me a like, leave me a comment. I have new videos every Monday, and I'm considering upping it to 2 videos a week once I figure out the logistics of doubling the work in a week. So that's all I have for you guys this week. Thank you so much, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.